Hey there, it's Crafty Jennabug. The August journal is complete. In case you don't know what this is, I have challenged myself for 2023 to create a junk journal each month and decorate it throughout the month. This month I am doing things slightly differently as far as when I put videos out. Instead of showing videos all throughout the month of me working in the journal, I decided to focus mainly on the making of the journal and a flip through of the completed journal. I'm getting a little burned out on making videos, and I'm hoping that just being able to enjoy the process a bit more without having to worry about this is where I should end the video, editing, uploading, etc. I think this will keep me feeling that creative mojo. So in case you didn't see the making of this journal, I'll link the video below where I made it so you can see what I did and how I did it. Here we go. The first page, I still love how delightfully grungy this is. It's my grungiest journal yet, I think, and I really love it. So here we have a title page. This flower here came from a piece of scrapbook paper. I just cut it out and glued it down. I stamped the month and the year. Added a little bit of decorative lacy ribbon. I got it at the Dollar Tree. Got some, the background is, I believe, a jelly print. Or I just braid on the paper. Used acrylic paint and a brayer to smear paint all over it. That's what I did. On the back, we've got this little belly band with a cute little bee card. Colored the back with some Stormy Sky and a little, I believe that's Wilted Violet Distress Oxide ink. And then I stamped the bee. Here I took a piece of scrapbook paper. It is from this kit, K & Company. Tim Coffey Tuscan Sunflowers. It's a lot of the pages from here. A lot of the scrapbook paper I used in this journal came from that paper pad. However, these two pieces of ephemera, this belly band and this card, they came from Artsy Fartsy Life free printables. I can link Artsy Fartsy Life's page down below. That page, I just wanted it to be beautifully decorated, very simply so. Here I have a journaling page. This is a piece of packing paper that I did a stencil negative on. Got a little die cut flower up here, and it says bee kind and a couple of cute little bees down here. This journal does have quite a few journaling pages within it, a bit more than I usually put in a journal, but I really was feeling lots of journal space for some reason. This says an act of kindness is a breath of fresh air. That also came from that K & Company scrapbook pad. I had birds on the background of this paper, and I chose it specifically for the birds, and then decided I didn't want it to be the only birds in this journal. I have a little bit of ribbon that I dyed with some walnut stain Distress Oxide ink. Distress Oxide spray, and glued it here like a little tab. Again, braid background with a bit of acrylic paint in a few different colors, and then I did a stencil here with acrylic paint as well. This came from a book of flower photographs, and I added Look Around for the Light. Some border here. I thought it kind of looked like bees, but they could also be butterflies. Hand stitched down. also stitched this side pocket, used some dies to make some flowers, big old button, and same, this is a piece of packing paper that had some paint on it, and I used it to cut out a leaf die. And here it says note to self. Here I made a pocket out of a piece of snippet that I used, or that I created during Defemerember last year. I can link the video where I made this snippet. And let's see, I made some magazine flowers. I can also link how I make the magazine flowers. Added a button and made that a pocket. I made this little tag in an earlier video in this series before I switched to the new format as far as video content is concerned for my junk journal challenge. Did some collage, some splatter, glued a piece of ribbon to the top, and that is the back. I really like that card. Here I took a piece of a close-up of the center of a sunflower I found in a magazine. I sewed around it. I have some scrap pages. I have some scrap pieces from that K & Company scrapbook pad, and gave them a little bit of a frame, and the evening sun descending. That came from that one, and this one came from a Tim Holtz Ideology clipping sticker book. This is another journal page. I've got some stenciling on it. Same down here. I just took a Inktense water-soluble pencil and traced the inside of the hexagons I used to make this. This is just from a game board, or this is packaging from a game we have, and you punch out all the little pieces before you get to play it. And I just used that, sprayed through it up here when I was decorating the pages for the journal, and then I just traced inside across the bottom. Made a little cluster down here with a few pieces of scrap paper, some dyed cheesecloth, and a piece of washi tape that says hello. A little stamped image of a bee. Here, this was the centerpiece of this first signature. It's a doily that I dyed with walnut stain and carved pumpkin, wild honey, distress oxide sprays to make it look like a sunflower. I took the negatives from when I cut out these flower dies. Took one of the negatives and made some beautiful sunflower looking patterns in the background. Glued these down like pockets, and inside we have 2 cards. That's another artsy fartsy printable. This is a little bit of scrap paper and a poem, Ah Sunflower by William Blake. Ah, sunflower, weary of time, who countest the steps of the sun, seeking after that sweet golden clime where the traveler's journey is done, where the youth pined away with desire and the pale virgin shrouded in snow, arise from their graves and aspire where my sunflower wishes to go. And that lives right there. Here, another journal page, a little bee circle image from Artsy Fartsy Life. This is a sunflower piece I found at the Dollar Tree. A little bit of ribbon glued behind it as a page tab. And a perfect pair. That sticker came from, I'm not sure where the pack came from, but it was part of a scrapbook kit. Here I glued down a piece of paper from the K & Company scrap paper. Here I have a card that has a sunflower, a beautiful fluffy sunflower. And this I found on Pinterest. I can link the pin below to the site where I found all of these vintage sunflower images that I used. I used some old paper and frayed burlap and vintage photo to distress the back. All of those were Distress Oxide inks. The background here is more paper that I used my brayer on. I think I'm going to do more of that in the future. That's fun. Here I have a tuck spot. I made using more of those die cuts and just a piece of scrapbook paper, and I cut out a circle with a circle punch and stuck it right there. It's the same paper as this. A little bee card. I can link the pin where I found this on Pinterest. Just a little guy. I'll probably put another bigger one in there too. Another image from the flower book. Down here I wrote down here I made a little cluster. It says don't stop bee leaving. That I also found on Pinterest, and I can link it below. More of that lacy ribbon, some tea bag. There's some tea bag glued down back there. Here I made a little pocket, sewed it on the front. I've got some scrap paper, actually that's packing paper, that I just tested some sewing on when I had changed my my thread out. This image came from this same printable. Put some stray threads behind it and glued it down. This also came from a Pinterest find, and I can link it. It's a little envelope. So cute. And inside I put a little bee card. It also came from this printable. Super cute. I distressed all of the edges with looks like frayed burlap. Distress Oxide ink. Cute. On the back I took a paper frame I found at Joann Fabric and Crafts. A bee image that's from a Tim Holtz snippet pack. And I did some splatter of brown acrylic paint mixed with water. Another journal page, I stamped Good Times. There's some stencil work done on it and a little bee stamp. Here, this came from an Artsy Fartsy printable. Glued it down as a pocket and splattered some brown acrylic paint mixed with water and some of this Liquitex Rich Bronze acrylic ink. Another vintage sunflower card, and it's distressed with vintage photo. And on the back I just laid a stencil and used vintage photo and spiced marmalade Distress Oxide inks to make a sunflower on the back. This is another Artsy Fartsy printable. I just roughed it up, made it look quite vintage, gave it a few rips and folds, used vintage photo again to make it look older and like it had seen some stuff. Glued it down. This is another thing I made during Defemember last December. It is tickets in a fold out with bees. I can link the video for that down below as well, so you can see how I made it. It is backed with this paper, and I glued it down like a pocket. This came from a piece of scrapbook paper, I'm not sure which, but it looked so good right in there. If I can get it back in, it's pretty tight. There we go. Here we have another poem, August by Mary B.C. Slade. I come, and the waving field, its wealth of golden grain shall yield. In the hush and heat of the glowing noon, the insect's hum is the only tune. For the merriest birds forget to sing and sit in the shade with drooping wing. But see how the purpling grapes hang high and ripen beneath my sunny sky. And see how the fruits of the bending tree turn blushing and rosy cheeks to me. And soon shall your garners be overfull with gifts from the August bountiful. Again, I have some tea bag glued behind it and a piece of scrap packing paper with a bee stamp. And a little bit of framed scrap paper. Here, another background made of braying paint all over a piece of paper. I made a little pocket using some of another K & Company Tuscan Sunrise paper. A couple of little tags I had in my stash. I stamped some images on them. And this is a brad that I found in my stash as well. And I just stuck it through the backs of the two tags and glued it down. Splatters again with that bronze acrylic ink. This little tag also I found on Pinterest, and I can link it. Added a little bit of yarn that I grunged up a bit with some frayed burlap Distress Oxide ink. Here I took a beautiful sunflower image from the Tuscan Sunflowers scrapbook page, cut it out and turned it into a tuck spot. I just thought it was so beautiful and needed to be the focal point of the page. Another Artsy Fartsy Life tag. I did not do anything to the back. Another journal page. Today is, and lots of bees. Well, a few little bees. Some splatter. I splattered over here as well. That was with the brown acrylic paint mixed with water. Here I have a little collage. Artsy Fartsy Life. Background here, I'm not sure where this fairy came from. I believe it was from a scrapbook pad. A stamp, and this private collection specimens, I believe, came from Tim Holtz snippet pack. Before I glued those down, I made the background look very grungy. I took a little cup and some brown paint and smushed it down. It looked like coffee stains and some splatters. And I glued this part like a pocket so that I could put this cute little envelope in it. This was another Pinterest find. I put this tag on it for the Wondrous Beauty. Came from the Tim Holtz clipping sticker book. Inside, I have a little telegram. Came from a piece of scrapbook paper. I'm not sure which one, but it was too cute in there. Belly band made from some of the K & Company scrapbook paper. Another magazine flower with a button. Some scrap paper for a stem and a leaf. Another Artsy Fartsy Life printable. Here is more of that Defemember snippet I made. Added a bee stencil and some splatter. Another vintage card. Here is a paper bag that was sewn into the signature to make pockets. Made a clumsy attempt at a cluster, but I really like the way it turned out. Superior Specimen also came from that Tim Holtz clippings book. Inside I have this card that says every day contains at least one small miracle. Little pull tab of a flower, and there is the back. In the back I have this Artsy Fartsy Life printable, and I roughed it up like I did the other one. Added some Distress Oxide ink in Vintage Photo just to kind of give it a little wear. A couple of rips and glued it down like it is. Here I have another poem. It says The Soul of the Sunflower by Sarah Jewett. The warm sun kissed the earth to consecrate thy birth, and from his close embrace thy radiant face sprang into sight a blossoming delight. Through the long summer days thy lover's burning rays shone hot upon thy heart. Thy life was part of his desire, thou passion flower of fire. And turning toward his love, lifting thy head above the earth that nurtured thee, thy majesty and stately mien proclaims thee sun-crowned queen. On earth thy gorgeous bloom bears record of thy tomb, and to transcend light thy soul takes flight, till thou art one, O sunflower, with the sun. I distressed it with a mix of frayed burlap and vintage photo, and then sewed around it quite roughly in some places. Had a couple of mishaps, but I think it adds to the whole page. Here, these pockets were made before they were even sewn in. I just folded up the bottoms of the paper and sewed them up the sides. I've got a little cluster here of a faux postage stamp, a little printable bee, and Happy August. This came from a different scrapbook pad. I'm not sure which one. I have way too much scrapbook paper, and I just thought it looked so cute sticking out of there. Here I have packing paper that I sewed in to be a couple of pages. Artsy fartsy printable. A 9. It came from scrapbook paper. A little bit of die cut flower, a stamped image of a bee with some threads behind it, lots of splatters of acrylic ink and brown acrylic paint with water. A little tab up here cut out of some paper that I braid on. Here, the centerpiece of this signature, it says, "Let's dance in the sun, flowers in our hair." And this was paper I used to clean off my stencils as I was decorating pages before assembling the journal. And I just thought it looked so cool, I had to use it in the book. And so I did. Here on the other side, this is another printable I found on Pinterest. I can link below. Some scrap paper to frame it. Some that I used to clean my stencils. A bee stamp, a little bee image, scrap paper, some onion packaging. Just thought it was a cute little journaling space. This says, "Let's get lost in a field of sunflowers." And I took some more of those die cuts and made them look like a sunflower. This is another piece of scrap paper from the K & Company paper pad. Here I've got this little card. It says H is for honeybee, and I backed it on a piece of scrap paper. And then another artsy fartsy life. And this I just stamped on the back of. I left this blank. It's too pretty. I wanted to leave some of it so that I could see it. Any other reason? This, I took a big artsy fartsy circle and glued it down. I was a little disappointed with the print quality of those, so I didn't use a whole lot of them. I had this piece from cutting out the leaf die, and I just cut out around it and made it part of a leaf, glued down a little bit of yarn. Yeah, I colored it with some Forest Moss Distress Oxide ink before I glued it down. And I really like the way it turned out. It's an abstract flower and a nice abstract leaf. And do you believe? Inside here, I took another magazine image of a sunflower, sewed it to this paper, and made a card out of it. On the back, I took a napkin and glued it down with some matte gel medium. And then once that was dry, I used water and walnut stain Distress Oxide spray and just touched all around it and wet it with water, and you know, made it look pretty grungy. I really like the way that turned out. Here I have another journal page. Again, I used Distress Oxide sprays and that hexagon punch out stencil thing to make it look like honeycomb. Some bee stamps, and I stamped today. Another belly band using 2 pieces of scrap paper. Another one of those Dollar Tree sunflowers and a scrap of green paper that it was a piece of plain white copy paper that I took the ink pads of Rustic Wilderness and Forest Moss and just rubbed all over and then ripped out the shape I wanted once it was dry. I added some water as well. Another Artsy Fartsy Life printable, a little bee stamp on the back, distressed with vintage photo. Another K Company Tuscan sunflower paper, just glued down because they were so beautiful. I took some more of that honeycomb ribbon and stapled it together so that it made a tab after I used walnut stain to distress it a bit. Glued it down underneath there. More sunflower photographs. Here is another Artsy Fartsy printable, and I glued it down to be a tuck spot for this Artsy Fartsy printable. Little bees stamped. Another journal page, more stamping, or I'm sorry, stenciling, both here and here. Lots of journal space. This might be my favorite page. I made an envelope with part of some Tuscan Sunflower K & Company paper. And then I decided to glue it to the side of this page in a fun way. I added this label, some little scrap paper, and Tomorrow May Rain, So I'll Follow the Sun, which is from the Beatles song, I'll Follow the Sun. And I glued this so that it would be a flip out. Another vintage sunflower image, piece of scrap paper for a little bit of framing, bee stamped image. Over here I did more, over here I used more of the die cut flowers and another circle and a die cut leaf. And in here I've got this Busy Bee card from Artsy Fartsy Life, more stenciling there. Oh, I didn't realize I did that so close to each other. It's alright. So many bees. Maybe that needs a bee. And then the last page, I glued the flap of the envelope down like a tuck spot so that I could have this fun vintage sunflower card tucked in it. And that's that. That is my August 2023 journal. I cannot believe I've made 8 months worth of journals. Yeah, another one is done. 4 more to go to finish for the year. And then I can take a break. No, I'm enjoying this a lot. My scheduling for the uploading of videos was starting to burn me out. Not the creating itself, just my own scheduling, you know, feeling like I had to push out 2 videos a week, things like that, was quite difficult to keep up with, as well as all of the things I got, you know, going on in life. So, yeah, I'm going to be posting less, but hopefully it will still be enjoyable. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you have enjoyed it, and we will see you in the next one. Have a great day.